Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another amateur repair time video for you this evening. Now, if you like our arcade game, jukebox, pinball machines videos, pinball repair videos, and that's the only thing you're really interested in, this video is not going to have anything to do with any of that. This is only about this super ugly clock here. We're going to be messing with this and trying to make it look a little better. But first I got to tell you about it. This thing is huge. It's like 33 inches tall. So I'm leaning way back and you still can't see the whole thing. Look at this. Now, I normally don't tell the clock this. It might get, you know, some kind of complex about it. But normally, I wouldn't have even bought this. The reason I bought it was because a family friend, Gene, you may have seen him on some of our videos. He's approaching 90 years old now, and he's a little bit of a collector. He's gone too far with it, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it. I hate to say it, but he's the type that he buys everything. If he can tell what it is, he buys it. So he knows that I like clocks and stuff. So, you know, I love old clocks. Look at this beautiful old clock up here, right? Look at that one that we did a video on. If you didn't see that, go check it out. And then I've got these, look at these ones here. Very cool, you know, some nice little clocks. And then he shows up with this. So he showed up down in Jefferson when we were down there working, and he said, "Ronnie, I got you a clock." I was like, "Oh, cool. Let's go check it out." Now, it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes he'll have something really cool. Sometimes not quite as cool. So in the back of his truck, he had this beauty. I have the face for it. It was with it, and the hands were with it, and the key was with it. The top glass is missing, and the thing was filthy. I mean, filthy. Dirt all over it, basically mud dauber's nest. I know some of our viewers are from overseas. I had somebody actually email and ask what a mud dauber was. It's just like a hornet or a wasp. It's that type of insect. And they build these nests out of mud that'll be long and stringy. They almost look like a pan flute or something. And there was stuff like that all in it, including on the movement, right? But he bought it. And so so basically he'll go to the flea market. He paid like $5 for this. And then he brings it to me and wants to know if I'll give him $10 for it. Stuff like that, right? And he's a family friend. And like I said, sometimes he finds us all kinds of cool stuff. If you saw that video about all of the GameCube games that were all damaged, that was from him too. So he bought this, and to him, he thinks, well, you know, it's a clock, right? But to me, I would think like, man, that thing's ugly as sin, and it's huge. I don't even know where I'm going to put it, but so anyway, I get it, and I bring it home. That was about 2 months ago. And so I put it outside because the thing on the porch, because the thing's covered in mud. Who knows what's going on with it? Now, the only reason that I got it from him is because it has a couple interesting little things. First of all, there's no wood rot on it. So nothing's rotten. I don't know what kind of wood this is. Maybe some of you guys and girls can explain it to me, what this is actually. We're going to look at it closer here in a minute. I'm just trying to give you the overall look as best I can, but it's so big I can't even fit it in the screen. It's about 16, 17 inches wide, something like that. Big old freaking clock. So I leave it sitting outside for a while. But like I said, the only reason I got it is because there's no rot on it. The wood, none of the wood is really damaged. And it has this kind of interesting effect on it. Look at the wood. I don't know if that's a special type of wood or if it's just like cheap pine that they kind of spray painted with black lines on it. I'm thinking more of the later. And the front of it, the wood grain is so exposed that it's almost like its own thing, you know. And then there's areas where it almost looks like they put filler in it, or maybe that's just where knots were or something. I don't know. So I think it's just, it's really, it's either just incredibly cheap wood, or it's really expensive wood. It's one or the other. I can't quite figure it out. The back of it is obviously just pine. right? So I don't know what we're working with here, but it's kind of interesting how that grain is so exposed. So we're gonna attempt to make this look better. Now, so I leave it sitting outside for about a month, and then finally I go, well, you know, I got to bring this thing in the house or throw it away or do something. And I look at it, and it's, like I said, it's in solid condition, but it's filthy. So I start cleaning it up the best I can. And I knock the mud dauber nests out of it and clean that off. Here goes the other one. The other one's jealous. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's correct. It's 10 o'clock. So I clean it up, take the mud dauber nests out. I wipe it down the best I can. You can see I didn't do a great job. It's still kind of dirty. But I get all the cobwebs out of it. I didn't find any insects. There were some dead things that looked like mud daubers or wasps or something. I cleaned all that out, and the face was still on it. So I took the hands off. One of the hands is got the paint peeling off of it and stuff. I took the hands off and took the face off. The face has a little rust on it and stuff. You'll see that here in a little bit. And I get back to the movement. The movement has a mud dauber thing on it. There's some mud or something on this movement, right? I'm trying to remember back because it was like a month ago. So, you know, a clock movement is kind of a particular thing. It doesn't want mud on it. So as you can see, there's no mud on it anymore. So I thought, you know, this thing's not worth a lot of money. And if I take it apart, I may not be able to get it back together because I'm not really good at this. Like I said, it's amateur repair time, people. So I thought, let me try something different. I've seen people talk about doing this. This is not the way to do it, okay? But this is the way I did it because this is not I don't believe this is a very collectible clock, right? I think this is, you know, a 70s model Korean clock is my guess. We're going to try to figure it out here in a minute, though. So I took the movement out. I took it outside. It had mud, cobwebs, dirt all over it. I sprayed it down with, are you ready for this? Carburetor cleaner. Yeah, that's right. I just sprayed it down with carburetor cleaner, which is pretty strong stuff, really. I mean, that is not an easy night for that thing. So I sprayed the hell out of it with carburetor cleaner. I did that until there was no more mud coming off of it because it was all gone. And everything that was dripping off of it was clean. So then I dried it off the best I could. Remember, I didn't disassemble it. I just did it all whole. Like I said, that's not the way to do it. That's the wrong way to do it. But, you know, drastic measures. Most people are not cleaning clock movements that don't have much value with mud all over them, right? So, and that's the other thing. This thing does not have much value. So I'm not trying to act like, oh, you know, this is worth $300. If we get this thing looking good, you might get somebody to give you 40 or 50 bucks for it, maybe, if it looked really nice and if it works. So I took it, cleaned it all up, dried it off the best I could. Then I took a oiler and I put just a little bit of oil on all of the pivots. I brought it in, I mounted it back in the case as you see. So this is the case after I cleaned it. Preliminary cleaning, people. And after I mounted it back in, and I swung the pendulum, and it started tick, tock, right? And then after about 10 minutes, it stopped. Oh, man. So if you don't work on these, that's typical. Like if something's worn or dirty or you got a problem, that's what it's going to do, right? So I thought, maybe it just needs a little help. So I swung the pendulum again. It started tick, tock, right? Same thing. After about 10 minutes, it stopped again. Oh, and I wound it up. I've got the key. And it stopped again. So I thought, well, that one's going to need some work. I'm going to have to completely disassemble the movement, clean it all up, see if I can figure out what's going on with it, put it back together. Okay? So I left it sitting there as it looks in all of its ugly glory. And about a month went by. And I walked by it and I thought, how long was that thing running for? And I couldn't remember. It's like, would it move for, I think it was like 10 minutes or something. So as I walked by, I did this. Okay. And I went and did some other stuff, and I came back an hour later, and it was still running. And so I thought, huh, well, that's pretty wild. So went and did some other things, came back in a couple hours, still running. So after, you know, it's been 3-4 hours, the thing's tick tock, I start seeing the hammer move. Right? Let me see if I can get it to do it. Oh, oh. That may not be how you do it. I can't remember. It may not be wound up. So anyway, I see the hammer move, and it goes, dunk, and it's the worst sounding chime you've ever heard. If I could get it to do it, I would. Yeah. This poor thing. Wonder what time it'll tell us. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe I counted wrong. Okay. I haven't heard it do 13. So anyway, it hits the chime one time. And I went, huh, the whole thing's trying to work. It's trying to Christine itself. And so I looked at the clock, and it was like 10:38. I thought, okay, it just chimed one time at 10:38. So at 11:08, it chimed like 3 times. Huh, that's pretty cool. So 11:38, it chimed one time again. And I'm thinking, that damn thing's keeping time. Right? So I went to bed. Next morning I get up. I hear it over there. Dun! I look. It's like, 9:38. So at 38 past the hour, every hour you're getting a chime. And then at the top of the hour, you're getting a different number of chimes. So a couple days later, I'm noticing that it is somehow, it's 1 hour off. Now notice it's been stopped because it finally ran its wind out. I haven't wound it, so it's probably going to stop on us here in a minute. So it was always 1 hour behind. So I watched it for about 2 days, and it would chime 8 after the hour and 38 after the hour, and the chime would be 1 less than whatever hour it was. So this thing is running. So I guess the first time that I tried to mess with it, I hadn't let it dry. And again, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. I mean, that thing is not supposed to get carburetor cleaner on it. Notice it has a nylon gear on the front, and it has that nylon seashell on the front. Snell, I think they call it, nylon snell. That's the hour, that's what keeps the time, keeps the strike. You're not supposed to just spray them down, but that's what I did, and the thing is running, so we're not going to mess with it. I'm not going to take it back apart. I am, however, going to unmount it because I want to see who made it so we can figure out what kind of clock this is. I did not know they made clocks this big, this ugly. It's not, I don't know if it's supposed to sit on the table, or hang on the wall. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to get it to look better. I've got a few things I'm going to do to it, and I'm going to try to see if we can do any kind of thing about all of this, how horrible all this looks. So I've got like a finish restorer. I'm going to attempt to see if we'll help that at all. But first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the movement so we can look at the back side of it and see if we can find a maker's name on it. You can see that the inside is still a little filthy. It's a lot better than it was, though. And it's got a nice pendulum. So part of this is I'm trying to figure out when it was made. I'm just guessing by the look of it from the late 60s to the late 80s. That would be my guess. So, and here's a look at that wood I'm talking about. Now this is on the inside, so if it is just some kind of paint technique, you wouldn't think they'd do it on the inside where you can't see it. So I don't know what that is. That, I mean, it may actually be some kind of decent wood. And I don't understand the grain thing. Oh, look at that. That might be a clue. The door covers this, but doesn't cover this. And it almost looks like it's worse where it wasn't covered. So that could just be like a weathered thing where it's just weathered that way. But the color is just unique, I think. Okay, so the back, like I said, it's obviously just a piece of pine. So I don't know. I guess that's pine. Tell me what you think. Okay, so look at the back of the door. I mean, what's going on here? And it looks like somebody has done some work on it, if you could call it that. I guess what we're doing, since it's amateur repair time, if I'm calling mine work, we can call theirs work. Like, what are we looking at here? Why is it like that? I don't get what that is. I've heard of the word burl wood, but I don't know what burl wood is. So it kind of looks like maybe these were added. So maybe originally it was just glued together, right? And then on the corners you have these, which surely were added. You wouldn't think from whatever factory this thing came from that they would do that. And so this is some kind of just putty, right? Do you understand me calling it ugly a little better now? So this piece of glass probably would have just been clear because the face has a bunch of stuff on it. So you wouldn't need any decoration on that. We're going to decorate this glass if we get it up and running and everything. If we get this cabinet looking better. I've got some stencils for this glass, maybe to make it look a little better. Okay, so here is the movement. And like I said, I did not clean it properly, obviously. I just sprayed it down with carburetor cleaner. There is a nylon gear. And then this thing, this snail, the top of it is damaged. So that's what the hour hand is going to sit on. And then the minute hand will sit on this, and then there's a nut on it. All right. So let's look at the maker. I think I remember now what I did. I couldn't figure out about the maker. Okay, so first of all, the 45 centimeter and then 101.9 has to do with something with the drop, how long the pendulum lead needs to be for it to stay in beat, or not in beat, in time. And it appears to be in time, even though I don't have the hands mounted, because at 38 after it hits. Okay, so then the 72 very well could be the date that it was manufactured, because that lines up with what I'm thinking. So maybe it was made in 1972. La Rose, and then it says no, 0 joules, made in West Germany, unadjusted. 151-020. So a La Rose movement, 151-020. The no 0 joules, they had to put that on these when they exported them, because you were charged more for a movement with joules in it. So the government would charge a different tariff or whatever. Okay, so maybe 1972. So I'm going to see if I can find La Rose. From what I was under the impression that La Rose was like they didn't actually make movements. That they just put their brand on it. So somebody else would have made this for them. But La Rose was like a company where you could order parts and clock parts and stuff from. So it could just be that this is a handmade case that somebody made out of who knows what. And they ordered a La Rose movement out of a catalog or something and made their own little setup. that would explain a little bit why it's so ugly. My whole thing with the ugly is, I don't know how you would sell this. It's just so big. You know, that one's big, but it's beautiful. Look at that thing. And it was 100 years ago, so I can see why somebody would buy that. You hang that in a bank or something. It looked cool, you know, but this one, maybe it hung in a bank. Okay, let me look up LaRose, see if I can figure out any information, and then we'll put it back in. I am not taking it apart and cleaning it, folks. I'm not doing it. We're not going to run it a lot. I want to see it keep time for a little while. Let me go see if I can find who made this or what the deal is with LaRose. All right, so the movement was made in 1972, and it's made by Hermley. LaRose people were people that sold parts, and basically Hermley would put whatever name you wanted on it, right? So the reason that they had those made was they sold movements through their catalogs, and they also sold clock kits that you could buy with or without the movement. So I found a scan of an old catalog that showed the movement but didn't show this particular clock kit. And the movement was about $30. Much the whole clock would have been, or if this was one of those clock kits. I would guess it probably was, because that would explain why it's put together kind of wrong, and it doesn't look like the factory would do that, and et cetera, et cetera. So look, I don't have a catalog from LaRose, but I have a Time Savers catalog, and this company Clock It, get it, Clock Kit, was one of the companies that bought LaRose out. So this is from 2007 though, and that's from 1972. So there's not gonna be anything in here that looks anything like that, but you can see the deal. Welcome to clock making. Look, he's teaching his young grandson how to make a clock. Look how much fun they're having. So Clock Kit, at least, you know, they're selling you, here you've got a drawing showing how the whole thing's made. And basically you're trying to make that. Kits are carefully designed and packed with everything needed to ensure quick and easy completion. Pre-cut wood pieces, components, battery, glue, sandpaper, and hardware. Yeah, it says battery because they were making theirs with movements, with battery movements. Which, by the way, it looks like there is an American company that makes battery movements. I'm skeptical. I'm not so sure that they're making them in America, but hey, I didn't say that. And that's not slander because I didn't tell you who the company was. Let's see if the mounting almost looks the same on that one. Let's see if they show a big ugly kit cabinet. Clock kits. Little mantle one, this one, these. We want a big ugly one. Waterbury Schoolhouse kit. That's kind of cool, really. Mission mantle clock kit. I've got an old Mission clock we're going to do a video on eventually. Dearborn regulator kit. That's bigger. 19 inches high. This thing's like 33. Okay, so see, this one is 26 high and 14 wide. That's almost there. But this one, of course, has the big door. Create a family heirloom. Create your family heirloom. This is actually fairly similar, but it's just smaller. But it's the same idea. So see how the top glass is clear and the bottom glass is painted. I'm not going to paint ours, but I've got some little stencils to put on it if we can figure it out. The kit as of 2007 was $400, and that is with a key wound movement. So that's cool. So $400 in 2007 would probably be more like $600 now or something like that. I won't make inflation jokes. So $600 to make a clock. And that probably, you know, counting inflation, this is probably, it was probably about $600 whenever they made this one. And so in 2007, here's a very nice one, right? Very nice looking clock. This kit they wanted $2,100 for. Oh, here's one, $2,800. So I think we're out of kits. Well, I don't know, it's clock kit. Maybe the whole book is kits. Maybe it's still in here. Look who I found. It's Norm Abram. Look, there he is again. They had Norm working with them. I'll bet Norm wasn't using the battery movements. I wonder if our dial would match one of them. I think this company existed. That one's pretty similar. I think this company existed before, or ceramic over metal. Well, wait a minute. Well, we'll figure it out. I think this company existed before, so their products aren't necessarily, this is Clock Kit, or products aren't necessarily the ones that LaRose had. They had their own products, and when LaRose went under, they just bought LaRose out. Okay, all right, so, yeah. Premium Cortex brand, made in the USA. Doesn't it sound like it should be making some music like that? All right. Okay, so let's start working on it. So I'm going to go get that Restore stuff I've got and rub a little bit of it on it and see if it does any difference to the finish. And hopefully I can make the whole thing look a little better, and then we'll start putting it back together. Well, folks, I have always been a firm believer that whenever you're working on something old like this, that it kind of has to want to be repaired, right? So you can work on it all you want, but if it don't want to be fixed, it ain't gonna get fixed, right? So I've got this product here. You can buy this at Lowe's or Home Depot. I can't remember which one, to be honest with you. I think it's at both, actually. Howard Restore Finish. It's not stain, it's like an oil or something that basically restores color to faded wood. Now, wouldn't you say that this is faded wood, right? So surely this stuff would work on this, right? It ought to. But if the clock doesn't want to be held, you know, there's nothing you can do. But guess what? It decided it wanted to come back to us. This stuff is like miraculous. I'd put this in the same category as like a miracle drug, like hydrogen peroxide or penicillin. It's miraculous. I mean, it's like Spam meat, Restore Finish. All right, here's the hands that were on it. Not great shape. So I'm gonna spray paint those. And I've got it back in, and I've got the pendulum on it. Let's see what we can, let's see if it's gonna hold up. I'm gonna go spray paint those so that they're ready for the face. All right, folks, I went and had a piece of glass cut at Ace, and I had it cut slightly smaller than I needed because I knew they probably wouldn't cut it right. Nothing wrong with Ace. It's just anywhere you go, they do that. And so the guy made it a little bigger, but it actually fits perfect. So I'm going to see how I can fasten that in. It looks like they glued it in last time. So I'm going to, you're supposed to use little pieces of wood to hold it in. So I'm going to see if I can do that. But the problem is if I hit it with a hammer, I might break the glass. So I might glue it myself. So I got the glass in and cleaned up. Well, that's a nice shot there, right? I put some little poplar wood blocks nailed in. That was fun, nailing that in, right? To hold the glass in place. This bottom one they have glued in, but it's glued in pretty good. I was gonna just pop it out so we could put our little transfers on it, but I think I'll just do it with it installed. Okay, here is the face that was on it after I cleaned it. I cleaned this whenever I brought it in about a month ago. But it looks pretty good. We're definitely in 1972 territory here, people. Definitely. Without a doubt, 1972. We have certainly dated it. Boy, she sounds sick, but she's working and it's keeping time. Long term, I don't know if this is a great solution. I don't know. It looks much better than when I got it. It looks much better than it did, you know, yesterday. If you can't tell, a day has passed. All right, so here is our next little part of the project. Actually, our final little part of the project. And then we can move on to another project. Look what I bought. So if you don't know anything about clocks. Now, if you do know anything about clocks, I can't believe you've watched this far because I'm sure I've broken every rule there is in the clock world. But if you don't know about clocks, they usually, the glass on them will have some kind of decoration. Now, like I was saying earlier, this top one probably not because all the decoration is on the face. So it'll look pretty good, just being clear. But this bottom one, all you'll be able to see in it is the pendulum and all of this, you know, kind of ugly pine wood behind it. So usually they had some kind of decoration. Let me show you a few of them that I've got. So some of them are simple, like this one just says regulator and Sonia, the A logo. But notice on the clock, there's nothing on the face. Okay. And then I've got a whole bunch of ones over here that are like kitchen clocks. I got all kinds of cool stuff displayed. By the way, none of these really have much value, so I hope everybody understands that. I'm just doing this because it's fun. So here's a really old one. And they all had just varying designs. So this one's lost some of its ink over the years, but it's like a gold design. And there's just, you know, stuff on the glass in front of the pendulum. Okay. This one is particularly nice. And notice how they've made it where it frames out the glass, and then you see the glass. And then there's some on this one up in the top because the bezel, the dial was round. This one's really strong. Got a bird. Right. I got this one the other day. We'll probably do a whole video on this one. Look how freaking beautiful this thing is. Look at that. I'm thinking about 1845. But this glass is likely a replacement. It's just too new, too nice. But it is, believe it or not, hand painted. But I think it's the wrong one. It may even be like a modern hand painted one. But that's a beautiful clock. We'll have to show on a video. Here's another one. So these kitchen clocks in particular had this going on. Okay. Now let me show you a little cheapo clock from the 70s. So even whenever they got a little newer, they weren't as ornate, but here, this is just an empty case. You can see where it had the this basically just, you can see in front of the pendulum. So we're going to do something similar to this to try to make ours look a little better. So I bought some transfers. These are just lines. I thought maybe we'd put some lines around the edges, but I don't know. That might be too much. I got a couple of those. And then we've got the Greek look. Right? That's pretty cool. But again, it might be a little too much. And then, here we are. Look at this. So you transfer these onto the glass. We're going to try that. Now this one, doesn't this left one kind of, see how the little curly cues and other little things coming off of it. So that's similar, I think. This one, slightly different look. Of course, they're all similar, you know. This one, this one, That's actually the same one. Yeah, so I got 4 different ones. Okay, so I think this one looks like it matches it the best. And I've got 2 of them in case I screw it up. How to use the transfer sheets. Remove the treated backing paper and place image into position to be transferred. Using a blunt pointed pencil or burnisher, burnish the image onto the surface. Don't rub too fast or too hard, making sure the sheet doesn't move while burnishing. After burnishing, hold the sheet in place so it doesn't move while lifting. Carefully lift the plastic sheet from the surface. If part of the image has not transferred, replace the sheet and repeat burnishing. Oh Lord, I can see how this is going to go. To remove unwanted images or accidental transfers, place Scotch tape over the image and lift it off. On surfaces where tape can't be applied, use a crepe eraser or solvent. After completing the image transfer, place the treated backing sheet over the image and reburnish again with the burnisher. Okay. All right. So do it and then do it again. And if it's messed up, do it again. And don't call us if it messes up, just do it again. Alrighty, so I think what I'll do is I'll cut that thing out and then I'll try to tape it in place where I think it's straight and in the center, and we'll go from there. All right, so I put a couple pieces of tape to hold it in place. I measured it all out to make sure it seems about as centered as I can get it. And I've got this pin where the bottom of it's pretty round, so I think that'll work. My main problem is I don't know how I'm going to tell if it's working. I can kind of see there's like a black area or a darker area. So maybe that's the area that everything's good. Okay, it didn't work at all because I had it on backwards. So I may have ruined it already, but I got a second one. But let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's doing different stuff now. What do you think? I messed up over here because it pulled loose. But I think, all in all, that's probably going to work pretty good. I mean, I don't know if this is some of my best work yet, no, but I'm learning. That's why this is amateur repair time, people. Amateur moves like this. Let's see if this sucker comes off without ruining it. Yeah, see where I scratched it before, it's made a mess. That can be cleaned up though, I think. But much better. Okay. Well, I made the mistake of scratching it, you know, on the wrong side. So there's a little bit of that still on there, but I got a lot of it off. Personally, I think it looks pretty good. What do you think? It kind of lines up. You know, it really looks pretty good now. I was thinking about the lines. I don't know. That I centered that, and the pendulum's a little high. But remember, I remade this pendulum suspension hanger. What do you call it? So basically, it had gotten pretty rough and then it snapped. So I laid it down, and I just happened to have some of those, and I bent another one. So this is the first one that I bent. I didn't show you all that because I was, you know, I don't really want to show people me doing stuff where I don't know what I'm doing, and then other people might think that's a good way to do it. You know, I'm still learning here. So the problem that this one had was it's really not the same. It looks the same, but it's not the same, because this one is spring steel from here to here, and this one is spring steel from here to here, so it doesn't quite move the same, right? So this one, when I put it in, it didn't hit the verge right, or the crutch. The crutch was down here, and so this stick way up past the crutch. On this one, the crutch was like right here. So it made it act different. So it did not like this one at all, even though it was the correct length. But I probably didn't get it the exact correct length, so I'm going to have to adjust the little nut on the bottom to make it faster or slower, depending on what it's doing. It looks a lot better, though. Let me see if we can do a before and after. So here's the before. And here's how she looks now. All right, so if any of you know what kind of wood that is that just pine that they've done some kind of technique to or something, or is that some kind of more exotic wood? Let me know. But you know what? Maybe not permanently, but I think this thing has earned a spot. What do you think? Has it earned a spot? I think maybe it's earned a spot. All right, folks. Boy, it's a big one. Look at that thing. But you know what? I was saying it's ugly. It looks a lot better now. Just needed a little cleaning, a little attention. Maybe I should lower it a little bit. What do you think? It's awful high up there. So there you go. Look what time it says it is. don't have this one going yet. Let's see. Somebody asked me what happens whenever they're all wound up. We're about to find out. You know, it's almost impossible to get them to chime at the exact same time. All right, folks, leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. I will see you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie. The link to his video is down below. His channel, it's called the My Brother Donnie channel. If you haven't been over there, I'm over there with him. But we'll be back in a couple days with another arcade game, pinball machine, or jukebox repair video for you. But every once in a while on the weekend, we like to do something a little different. Very cool. All right, folks, so I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next time.